Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Huffman. I'm one of the pastors on staff here at the Vineyard. Welcome to the Vineyard live stream here at noon, part of the 167 Challenge. And I want to welcome everybody joining today here on their lunch hour. I know some of you are working, some of you are at home, maybe at school. And we're going to give it a minute or two for people to join the live stream. So while you are joining, here's a question that I want you to, before I get into the question, the last time I did a live stream, I said I'd give a Starbucks gift card to a person who commented, and so I have the Starbucks gift card right here. And the winner from the last live stream of this card, are you ready? Kathy Belsass. This is your Starbucks card. I will find you this weekend and give you this card. This is yours. You are the winner from the last live stream. So here's what I want us to do for this live stream, because I'm going to give another Starbucks card away. So here's how you get a free Starbucks card. Only one person is going to get this, though. Here's what you do. For anyone who shares this in their Facebook feed, who shares this live stream in their Facebook feed, next week I will select one person who did that to get a $5, I know it's not that big of a thing, but a free $5 Starbucks gift card. So do that. Just hit share, and that will help everyone out as well. Also, hey, if you want to be super helpful, I'd love to hear, in the 167 series that we've been in, what was your favorite part of the series? Just comment below with what your favorite part of the series. It could be a message. It won't hurt my feelings if it wasn't one of my messages. That's fine, but was there a message that spoke to you? Was it the challenges, a specific challenge? Was it the texts that you got? Was it the live stream? You can't say all of it. But what was your favorite part of the 167 series? Just comment below. That'll be helpful to us. It's been a fun series for us as a staff, jumping in to all of the challenges we've had. We had 40 challenges. That was fun. The messages were great. And so I think it's just been a great series. And this is the end. Sort of the last week, couple of days worth of challenges left, and this is the last live stream in this message series. It's sort of been an experiment for us to see if live streaming during the day would be a thing, and you all sort of had made it a thing. We've had over 1,000 people tie into the live stream, either while it's going live or afterwards you viewed it, and so it seems to be working. I don't know. So we'll get started here in... there's a whole bunch of people on. You guys are so nice. Want to bring you this thought before we get started. The thought, it actually comes from Galatians. When I was praying about this, what I was going to share today, what came to mind is the book of Galatians. And if you know anything about the book of Galatians, Paul is writing the church of Galatia, and he's, obviously some things are going wrong and some good things are happening, but he ends the letter with something that I think is important, not only to Galatia, but important to us as we finish up the 167 series. And I'm only going to keep you probably 10 minutes today. There's not a ton that I'm going to talk about, but I want to leave the 167 this week with a thought and sort of the way Paul ends a letter to this church in Galatia. Because so many things are going right, and I think people are stretching into new areas. But our hope is that the things that we pushed into in the 167 series don't stop this week. Like, there's great things that can be happening. And so I just want to leave you with a couple of things. Again, we won't be long, about 10 minutes today. Two quick thoughts. So I'm going to be in the book of Galatians is where I'm going to get. I'm going to jump right in. Galatians chapter 6 is where I'm going to be. Couple of verses here. I'll read Galatians chapter 6, starting in verse 7, just 3 verses. Again, this is Paul at the end of a letter to the church of Galatia says this. He says, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. And so here's the first of two thoughts that I want you to consider as I read that. The first is, I know we're all sowers of something. And when I say sowers, I'm not talking needle and thread. Throughout Scripture, Jesus even talks about this sowing and reaping. And if you're a sower, if you're sowing and reaping, you're planting seeds. And so what Paul is sharing here at the end of Galatians is we're all sowing something. What are we sowing? Are we sowing things out of our enjoyment, out of our flesh, or are we sowing spiritual seeds? Because if it's all about us, then that's going to not be good, because what we're going to get in return is not from God. But if we're sowing things of God, we can then expect to get things from God. And so there's sort of that challenge. And as I turn into the 167 series, if we're all sowing things throughout our day, what are we sowing? And I just want to share two quick stories within this series that came to mind. And this is, I'm not perfect at this whole, am I sowing good God stuff all the time? So, but I can, two stories come to mind. One, I was at the Granger Martins, not the Gucci Martins, but the Granger Martins, the other one. And I had a couple of hours to wait in that Martins because I was waiting for my son. And some of you know that I do Facebook maybe a little differently, and so I posted on Facebook, hey, I'm going to be at Martin's. If anybody needs prayer, I'll be there. Didn't expect anybody to show up, but then somebody at the end of my 2 hours there showed up that I had not seen in years. They showed up, and I was able to pray with them. And I don't share that story to be like, oh, yeah, way to go, Steve. What I share that story for is specifically because I could have spent that 2 hours not doing anything, browsing the web, right? But I tried to, at least that one time, to be a little intentional and to try to understand that I'm sowing something, and it's not just on the weekend that I should be focused on that. I have 167 hours to maybe sow some good seeds as well. And so I use that 2 hours to potentially sow a good seed from God into that individual. The other story that came to mind, I live south of Jackson Road a little bit. I've got a dog, love my dog. And in the last couple of months, my dog got attacked by two other dogs from my neighbor. And my wife and I and my family had an intentional choice to make, that we didn't get that worked up about the dog. We like our dog, but it's a dog, right? If you're a dog lover, I don't mean that in a negative way, but the reality is we love our neighbor as well. And so it was an opportunity to not make something and blow it out of proportion, but to actually say, you know what, we're okay. The dog ended up surviving, and now I have what I would say, when I look back at it, a much better relationship with my neighbor. And because we try to intentionally understand that we're all sowing seeds throughout the day. So the big question out of this point and out of what I think Paul was trying to write to the church, we're all sowing seeds. What are we sowing today? So I want to pause just for a second before I jump into this. I don't know where you're watching this at. You could be at work, could be at home later tonight or throughout the week. If you think about your day today or about tomorrow, what seed are you sowing? What seed? Because we've got an opportunity. The other thing that I see in this text, just very quickly, Paul is finishing up this letter. He says, hey, we're all sowing something. But he then goes on and he says, let us not become weary in doing good. For at the proper time, we'll reap a harvest if we don't give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, And so just an encouragement here at the last week of the 167 series, I just want to highlight the same thing that Paul highlights. Don't become weary in this stuff. We had a great series. We had 40 challenges over this series. We had talks on how to get God in the mix of our lives, how to deal with our downtime. Pastor Andrew did a great job this last week. You should watch the message if you didn't hear it here live. How to be battle ready, dealing with relationships and romance and considering purpose in our lives. Those are all ways that we can get God into the other 167 hours of our lives. And my encouragement is, I get it. Life can be challenging, work and school and home life and everything sort of creeps in, but my challenge, my prayer for you is don't give up. Don't get weary in throwing those seeds in your life, around your life, to your neighbor, to your family. Don't give up and continue to do good things because it's worth, those seeds are so worth it. And so I want to close here in this short time with a prayer, specifically for us in this series, or if you're just tying in, I want to pray for opportunity to throw good seeds even beyond this series. So let me close with this prayer. God, we know around us there's all sorts of opportunity, whether it's with our family, whether it's in school, whether it's at work. There's just opportunity to bring peace and joy and happiness and love to places that too often, God, those places are hard to bring those things. And so I pray that everyone listening sees the opportunities that God sees, and that you bring the great things of God into the 167 hours outside of church, that our neighborhoods would be different, that our workplaces would be different, that our schools would be different, that our homes would be different because we bring the great things that God has into those areas of our lives. And I pray that the focus goes beyond this series, but throughout this year and even beyond that, because things would be so much better. Thanks for tuning in to today's live stream. I will see you this weekend. This weekend is going to be a great weekend. Saturday night, we do baptisms, so you won't want to miss that. I love to see you this weekend. See you later.